Welcome to Everything You Need to Know About the Ascension of Humanity, the podcast where ancient wisdom meets modern science and spiritual evolution gets real. I'm Heather, an energy healer, channel, and spiritual coach with Divine Ascension Company. Each week, we're diving deep into the mysteries of human consciousness, spiritual awakening, and the profound transformation happening within us and around us. But here's the thing. We're not doing this with our heads in the clouds. We're bringing neuroscience, psychology, quantum physics, and cutting-edge research to the table alongside meditation, energy work, and timeless spiritual teachings. Because the truth is, the ascension of humanity isn't some far-off cosmic event. It's happening right now in the choices we make, the awareness we cultivate, and the healing we do within ourselves. Whether you're curious about how mindfulness literally rewires your brain, why shadow work is backed by depth psychology, or what coherence between your heart and mind actually means scientifically, you're in the right place. We'll explore practices like breathwork, meditation, and emotional alchemy, not as abstract concepts, but as tangible tools grounded in both spiritual wisdom and scientific understanding. And here's where it gets even better. In our bonus episodes, you'll hear from real people sharing real stories. These are the warriors, the healers, the everyday seekers who've walked through their own darkness and found their light. They'll share their breakthroughs, their struggles, and the resources that actually helped them along the way. Because personal growth isn't a solo journey, and you deserve to know you're not alone. So whether you're just beginning to question the nature of reality, or you're deep in your spiritual practice, this podcast is your companion on the path. It's time to expand, to awaken, and to rise together. Let's begin. Hey guys, it's Heather. Ryan and I recorded this episode while we were in England, visiting sacred sites across the UK. We'd been to Egypt together a few months earlier, and the energy difference between these two places is wild. Egypt was intense, fast, in-your-face frequencies that was incredible but almost impossible to process. England was slow, methodical, and patient, and honestly gave us space to actually integrate what we were experiencing. In this episode, we're comparing notes on what we felt at Stonehenge, Glastonbury Tor, Avebury, and other stone circles. Ryan shares how Stonehenge literally wouldn't talk to him until his fourth visit, and what he learned about sacred sites testing your patience. I talk about the warm, fatherly energy of the Avebury stones and the visual distortions at the Rollright stones. If you're curious about sacred site energy, planning your own pilgrimage, or just want to understand why different places feel so dramatically different, this is a really practical, experiential conversation. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Today I have Ryan here with me again. We are in England, the UK. We have been visiting sacred sites here, and I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how each of the places here, the energy is so different. And when we were in Egypt a few months ago, it was even more different. So I just kind of want to share those experiences with you. Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks, Heather, for having me on again.
Of course. So let's start with Egypt and the energy that we felt there and how it's different from England itself.
Okay. So my experience of Egypt was even just like at the hotel, which, by the way, was in Cairo, was right by the pyramids. Even in the hotel room, the baseline energy that I was feeling was much stronger than most places I would go in the States. And I feel like I need to come up with like almost an energy classification system, because it was much faster energy in Egypt. It was much kind of more intense, more high frequency, very active, very kind of in your face, right? There were different flavors and colors of that throughout Egypt, but as like that background, that's how Egypt felt to me.
Yeah, I agree. Egypt definitely wanted you to know that you were in Egypt. It wanted you to know that it was there, it was listening, it was present. It wanted you to feel that energy. It was definitely not subtle whatsoever. And I think that was pretty consistent through all of the places that we went during the 2 weeks that we were there. So being in England, we've noticed that it's much more different. What's been your experience here so far?
So let's take the one that everybody wants to know about. Let's talk about Stonehenge. And so the first time I went to Stonehenge, I was there 4 times total during this trip. The first time, I did the normal heritage tour, walked around it, sat on one of the benches by it. I didn't feel very much. I didn't feel very much at all. And that happens. Sometimes sacred sites just don't talk to you. And it wasn't until I was in the car driving away where the sacred site is, it said to me, next time you come back, we'll have a conversation. And I'm like, okay, so next time. Well, the next time I went back was winter solstice. And I was there at like 4 a.m, and I was the 5th one in line. And I was actually able to go inside the center of the stone circle and do about an hour-long meditation in there. And if I could describe the energy, it was very slow, very not in a hurry, very methodical. And it was trying to like get peanut butter through a straw. And I'm used to flowing energy. So I'm used to energy flushing through my vessel. Like I'm used to all of those things, but this was acting very differently. And then before I could really have much more interaction than that, the solstice kicked into high gear and there was drumming and tons of people. And so that was kind of the end of the meditative experience and the beginning of the human 3D experience. So those were my first 2 times to Stonehenge.
So you said that you heard the energy speak to you.
Yes.
After you were there the first time. Have you been able to talk to it since then? Like, is there any kind of way to kind of understand why these energies are so different? Did it give you any insight on that?
So I did talk to it afterwards on my 3rd visit. We'll come back to that though. Okay. One of the things, you can learn a lot about a site by talking to the locals, right? We visit a site, we're there for what, an hour or 2, probably on some kind of tour, and we leave. And we see that as our experience. When we talk to the locals, we get that feel for that local knowledge. They're the ones that live there, right? And so it wasn't until we went to Glastonbury, we met a shop owner, and we had just gone and seen the tour, which had a very fun, like medium vibration, fuzzy energy, very playful. And I said something to her about Stonehenge, and she's like, yeah, I don't like the energy at Stonehenge. And I was curious, and I was like, well, why? She's like, there was a lot of death there. There's a lot of burials, and that land has seen a lot of things, and it's hard not to impact the energy of the land with it seeing all those things. I was like, okay, that's a local's opinion. I don't know. What I can tell you is my experience with Stonehenge has been very slow in building. It took me like 4 trips of like, in 3 of them sitting, meditating for 30, 45 minutes for these energies to really start flowing, to start communicating. Stonehenge wants to make sure you have patience. And if you don't have patience, it's not going to talk to you. It pretty much told me that. It's like, I'll talk to you next time you come back. And a lot of us, there might not get to be a next time, right? We're there for 2 hours and that's what we get.
Yeah. I have to say, like, the energy in Egypt was great. I felt like it was really hard for me to process there because there was so much energy coming in. Like, I tried to give 2 tarot readings and I was having a really difficult time even reading the cards and getting that connection because it felt like there was so much input being put into my brain, into my energy field, that the output was not at its normal level. And
Yeah.
here in England, and I don't know if it's Bath where we're staying or if it's England in general, but the energy being quite opposite of that. And with me, my mind always being on the go, on the go, on the go, I've noticed that since I've been here, at least for the first while that I was here, I noticed that I was able to slow my mind down. I was able to calm my mind to match the energy here and was able to focus a lot more. And I was able to like be in a presence of peace and quiet, which I normally don't get at home. And I certainly didn't get in Egypt. So it's interesting how we resonate more with different energies. Like Stonehenge was pretty anticlimactic for me as well, but just the energy of England itself being that peaceful, calm, slow energy has given me a chance to like breathe, I feel like, energetically, which was nice.
Well, and I agree with you, Heather. I think that Egypt is a hard place to process. It's a great place to experience,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, I know several people that were sick for a week after they came back from Egypt, me included.
And me too.
And I think that the trip to England has given more ability to process in between, as well as the energies just aren't as hopping, if you will. They're there. They're more subtle. They're also in some ways a little bit more powerful. I've definitely had to have integration days here. One was pretty rough about the middle of the trip. But I also went to Glastonbury a few times. I've been to the larger stone circles, the smaller stone circles. I've been sampling all these different energies from all around the southern UK. And I think what you find is that they all have their own impact on you in a positive way. It's some people travel the world to try different foods. I like doing that as well. I also like sampling the different energies of different places.
Mm-hmm. And even the energies of the places that are here, like you mentioned Glastonbury, when we went to the tour, the energy there was much different than the stone circles or even the abbeys that we went to. It was very like more high frequency. It was very energetic. It was very playful. It was very fun up there. You know, once you got past all the wind and making the climb up to the building, but the energy was quite different from any of the other energies that I feel like I've experienced since I've been here. What was your experience like at the tour?
So it's very infrequent that this happens, but it happened there. So you know that shimmer that you see above the asphalt when it's super hot or above a fire? Sometimes I see energy like that. And I actually saw some of that at the top of the tour in the grass. And that's always a special thing I've recognized. This doesn't happen very frequently, but when it does, it's kind of a sign like you're in a high energy place. The energy is like leaking out of the ground there. I don't know. I don't have any conclusions from this. I can just tell you that it was really nice energy. I liked being at the tour. I would definitely go back there. From an energetic standpoint, I don't know if I would need to go back to Stonehenge.
Mm-hmm. So we also went and saw the stone circles at Avebury. What was the difference between the energy there and the energy at Stonehenge?
So the temperature wasn't any different. They were both really cold, but the energy at the other site, other than Stonehenge, was much warmer. And by the way, you can feel it through your gloves because it was really cold that day. And I just got this deep sense of history there. I got this deep sense of this land has seen things, this land is healed, this land is becoming whole. It wasn't as much the energy flowing through the vessel, which I normally feel at sites. It was more of subtle knowing, possibly ancient knowledge coming through. It was a very different type of experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those big stones at Avebury, it felt warm. Normally I feel tingly, and they felt very warm and it almost reminded me of the Sphinx energy, but not quite. Where the Sphinx energy was like very motherly, very caring, very like, I felt like I was being cradled. And I had a very similar feeling at these big stones, but it wasn't like a feminine mother energy. It was more masculine, but it still had that like caring, nurturing, very wise, like fatherly figure type energy. So that was interesting to me too. Where else did we go? We went to some other stone circles, but you didn't get out of the car that day.
Well, that one, it was a smaller circle, but one of the things you have to realize about visiting sacred sites is you don't have to be at the site.
Mm-hmm.
So it's wintertime here. It's been cold. And one of the things that I found is that it's better for me to be sitting in the car quiet, a little bit away from the site, because then you don't have all the tourists, you don't have all the kids, you don't have all the distractions, but you can still feel the energy. And you can still have that communication, that commune with that earth. Because what I was told in one meditation was the things that are built upon the earth were built there because of the energy. But it's not like it's that pinpoint of earth. It's the area around it. Stonehenge is a really large complex, okay? The stones that we know are actually a very small part of that whole complex. And walking around through the fields, there's tons of sheep grazing, being able to like have a sunny day, the sun on your face, no people around you in the middle of this field gives you a very different perspective, and a wonderful perspective versus just even sitting inside the stone circle.
Yeah. So these were the rollright stones that we were at. And I had a very interesting experience here because there wasn't really anybody else around. But when I went, there was 3 different locations on this site of stones. And I went and I had an energy exchange, and I, explained who I was, why I was there. And by the time I got to the second one, I started getting more visual things happening, which doesn't normally happen for me. But as I was feeling the energy, and it was getting stronger through each of the little locations, but by the time I got to the last one, I felt like the sky was moving, like being sucked back into like a pinpoint of space. And there was just a lot of like wavy energy and just things that were affecting my field of like my physical field of vision, which isn't something that typically happens. So it's curious that it baffles me how different these sites are. And it's amazing how each one and each different energy kind of affects you in a very different way. And even the same location can affect 2 people very differently, but just the feeling and the vibe of each of the places is so different from each other. It's just, I don't know, it's a very interesting. I keep saying the word interesting, but it is. It makes you appreciate the different places in kind of a whole new way.
For sure. And you'll find with your preconceived notions, because you're going to go into something with some level of preconceived notion. Yeah, just try not to.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, you're probably going to be wrong. And so just go into it with childlike wonder as much as you can. And that's going to be one of the best ways to experience these sacred sites.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Can we talk about one other thing while we're here and in England? These sunsets, man.
Oh my God. So I purposely try and make it home before the sun sets, because the sunsets here are so fantastic.
Yeah, they really are. There's something else. Even especially with the view of Bath, like right underneath, and the tree line, I don't know. The colors here, the sky, it's just beautiful.
I think you should use one of the sunset photos as the cover photo for this.
Okay. I can certainly do that. Any last comments, concerns, words of wisdom about England?
So from an energetic standpoint, it's definitely worth coming to visit. Things are very spread out, and so you want to plan your trip accordingly. We found that for southern England, Bath is a good place to base out of. Everything's about an hour drive. Mm-hmm. And I feel sorry for whoever's driving you around if you're not used to driving on the left-hand side of the road. I was literally terrified for, well, pretty much the entire time I was driving. Mm-hmm. The roads here are narrow. Get a small car, not a big car. If you're renting a car, the smaller, the better. You can't go fast here anyways. It's all little tiny roads, but it's totally worth it.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome. Well, thank you for being on the show again and for sharing your experiences while we've been here in the beautiful English countryside.
Thanks for having me. And let's go visit some more sites and bring more reports back to the people.
Heck yeah, I'm all for it. Let's do it. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope something in this conversation resonated with you, and if it did, I'd love to stay connected. If you've been seeing repeated numbers everywhere and wondering what they mean, I created a free guide just for you. It breaks down the most common angel numbers and what your guides might be trying to tell you. You can grab that link at www.divineascensionco.com/angel-numbers. And if you're feeling called to work together, whether that's activating your mission, clearing what's blocking you, or just figuring out what the heck your soul is trying to tell you, let's chat. You can book a discovery call through the link in the show notes. I'll catch you on the next episode. Until then, trust what you know.